Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today, we are going to discuss two very important topics for business and tech leaders around the world: process intelligence and AI, and how together they become a winning formula for achieving key business priorities. My name is Amardeep Modi, Vice President with Everest Group, and I lead Everest Group's research on automation, AI, and data technologies. I am joined by two lovely colleagues of mine who are experts in the process intelligence and AI space. Santosh and Varshita, over to you for a quick intro.
Thanks, Amar. Hi, everyone. My name is Santosh Kumar. I'm a practice director at Everest Group. Uh, and I'm part of the data automation and AI team, tracking process intelligence, process orchestration, and AI technologies for quite some time. Thank you. Varshita, over to you.
Thanks, Santosh. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Varshita Shrivastava. I'm a practice director with the firm. I'm part of the same team as Amardeep and Santosh, and I closely track the process intelligence and agentic AI space.
Thanks, Santosh and Varshita, for joining in today. And as you can see, we have got two of our key experts on the panel today to talk about these two very important topics and their business implications. But before we get into the conversation, quick question for our audience. Which AI tool do you use the most in your day-to-day life? Please share your answer in the comment section. For me, it's probably the ChatGPT. Santosh, Varshita, what about you guys?
I think that would be a
ChatGPT for
very
me.
common
Yeah.
answer. We can expect a lot of ChatGPT
No surprises
Yeah.
there.
heads. Yeah, no surprises
Okay,
there.
okay, awesome. Okay, I'm excited to see, if that's a common answer for the audience today as well. So, okay, so getting into, the meat of our conversation, process intelligence and AI. So, Santosh, why don't you unpack process intelligence for us? What is process intelligence and how is it different than some of the other analytics and dashboarding tools or BI tools that enterprises currently use?
Sure. Thanks, Amar. Thanks for the start. Definitely. I mean, there is a critical difference between BI tools and process intelligence solutions. They serve different purposes. The BI tools kind of give the enterprise aggregated KPIs or trends and tells them what is happening, whereas process intelligence kind of reconstructs the actual process flows from system logs and user interactions, and it shows how work is really happening with all the loops, handoffs, and bottlenecks, which BI dashboards will never reveal. And it's like the difference between a heart rate monitor versus a full body X-ray, right? Like a heart rate monitor gives you just signals, whereas a full body X-ray will give you the structural truth. So for enterprises, the technology should matter because it uncovers hidden inefficiencies, helps them pinpoint where automation or AI should be applied. It ensures compliance by exposing any real deviations and helps them to drive continuous improvement within the processes. Now, when we talk about process intelligence technology itself, we kind of divide it into two types. One is process mining, the other one is digital interaction intelligence. So, process mining is a technology which provides a macro view into the process by mining the event logs that are generated by different enterprise applications, be it ERP, CRM, etc. Whereas the digital interaction technology provides a micro view of the process by recording all the user interactions that are performed as a part of the process. So, if enterprise think process intelligence is just a fancier dashboard, they will underutilize the technology, and they will expect simple reporting rather than a larger transformation. But if they recognize the technology as a key digital twin of the actual process, they can use the technology as a foundation for all the AI-driven decision making as well as any kind of data-driven operational excellence.
No, that's a great way to kind of visualize and understand what process intelligence technologies are and how they are really different than some of the other analytics tools or BI tools. And we often used to hear enterprises get confused between how process intelligence is different than business intelligence or other analytics tools. And I think over time, we have seen greater awareness and understanding of how these are different. And I think over the last few years, we have seen great interest and adoption of process intelligence technologies among enterprises. So, Varshita, from your conversation with enterprises, what do you see as the key factors that is driving this accelerated adoption? And what are some of the key areas where enterprises are leveraging process intelligence for?
Um, Thanks for the question, Amar. I think Santosh put it very wonderfully that BI is very, very different from process intelligence. One is a heart rate monitor, one is a full body analysis. But if I talk about just a few years back, this was not the case. This was now not how process intelligence was being viewed as. It was being viewed as an add-on. It was nice if you had it, but it wasn't really mission critical. And I think that has changed now. It is being recognized as a very integral layer in the intelligent automation stack. And I think one key thing that has led to that realization is that enterprises have come to the conclusion that you simply cannot automate something that you don't understand. And we talk a lot of these organizations that are increasingly adopting process intelligence. And there are multiple factors that come to the forefront that are behind this drive in acceleration. See, I think the first thing that comes is a mindset shift. So initially, many organizations, what they did was they jumped straight to the automation part of it. RPA bots were flying everywhere. And then they realized, okay, if you automate a broken process, all you get is a faster broken process. That's it. That's nothing else changes. And I believe that was the turning point. That is where enterprises actually changed their approach. They went to understanding the processes first, then they went to fixing the processes before they went to automating it. So, in a way, process intelligence has acted as a directional guidance for automation. It gives you a fundamental view of where do you want to go. I think in addition to that, there are a couple of other things that have accelerated this momentum. The first being the technology in itself has accelerated. So while a lot of enterprises have a lot of data, that data is very valuable, but it is highly underutilized if you're just sitting with the data. You need that PI layer to drill into that data, make sense of that data, and derive value from that data. And over the years, I think all PI providers have realized that, and now they are moving towards a way where they are making the tool itself very intuitive, very user friendly for a non technical audience. So that alignment with the diverse needs of their audience has actually led to an increase in adoption, coupled with the fact that PI actually runs continuously. It's not like I'm running it for a day or 2 days. It just gives me a real time view of what is happening. So every time I look at PI, I know what's happening. And that kind of visibility is very, very indispensable for the leadership.
Absolutely. And, Varshita, you kind of made a very important point of, the role of process intelligence in automation, right? And how the importance of automation has been one of the key drivers for greater adoption of process intelligence in recent times. Let's double click on that aspect a little more, right? Santosh, could you elaborate a little on the role of process intelligence in the enterprise's intelligent automation journey? We all know how important automation has become for enterprises. It has become a CXO priority. It's coming up, consistently among the top five tech priorities for enterprise leaders. So, what role does process intelligence play? Why should enterprises care about it, and why do we say that it has become a key component of a holistic intelligent automation solution?
Sure. I think that's a very critical and important aspect. So when we go back a few years, process intelligence technology itself was seen as something optional, which is used to kind of validate few things after the deployment of automation or any kind of deployments. But that has changed over time, right? Today, it is like a must-have layer in the overall intelligent automation stack, because automation at scale requires a clear fact-based view of the process and the business processes. And if you try to deploy any kind of RPA, AI, or even now agentic AI, without the process visibility itself, the enterprise might risk automating inefficiencies, missing any kind of compliance risks, or building solutions that don't adapt well to the real world. So that's where process intelligence provides that ground truth by reconstructing how work is actually happening across different systems and different users. It also plays a critical role in governance and resilience aspects. With real-time monitoring, it can kind of detect all the deviations the moment they occur. It ensures compliance without retrospective but continuous, which makes automation more safer and sustainable. And also importantly, as enterprises move into the AI and agentic AI bandwagon, the process intelligence becomes the entry point for prioritization. It helps decide where AI agents should act or how to measure their impact and how to keep them aligned with the business goals. So the shift from nice to have to must have component within the overall intelligent automation stack is clear. And process intelligence is no longer on the sidelines. It is like the backbone of the overall intelligent automation ecosystem, which is sitting alongside like other technologies like process orchestration, AI, and automation tools, ensuring everything runs on a foundation of transparency and truth. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really great to know, and no wonder why most of the intelligent automation solutions now have process intelligence as one of the key components, or in other words, it has started to become a feature in an automation solution, right? Now, when we talk about intelligent automation, there are kind of different stages, right, that enterprises have to go through. So and then you made a really good distinction between process mining and digital interaction intelligence, right? Could you tell us a bit more about the different stages of the intelligent automation journey, right? And and how process intelligence kind of play a role across each of those stages of intelligent automation?
Sure, Amar. So, in terms of different stages of intelligent automation journey itself, first of all, in terms of identifying the automation opportunities, where exactly to deploy RPA robots or be it AI agents now and co-pilots. First of all, identification is the first step where exactly to deploy automation. In order to do that, firstly, the enterprise need to get a micro view into the process within the process, which are those tasks or activities where there is manual or repetitive aspects that are kind of going on. So that's the first piece. Further to that, once the identification has been done, the next step is to prioritize those use cases out of which can be deployed for RPA or AI agents or co-pilots, which where the task mining or the digital interaction intelligence solution can come into picture to help enterprises identify and prioritize those use cases. Further to that, in order to validate if those use cases are appropriate or not, you can also bring in the process mining technology to validate it. Thereby, you deploy the automation. And once the automation is deployed within the process, you can leverage it further for both process mining as well as digital interaction intelligence technologies to continuously monitor them, to identify if there are still any inefficiencies or gaps within the process, or are there any deviations that are happening, and also to ensure if the compliance and governance aspect is taken care of, right? So in that way, the process mining as well as the digital interaction intelligence technologies can play a crucial role. And yeah, before deploying even automation, in identifying any kind of inefficiencies within the process or fixing, standardizing the process across different business units, uh, different geographies can also be done using both these process mining and digital interaction technologies. That's how we see these technologies playing a role in the overall automation cycle.
No, absolutely. And nothing like seeing things in action, right? Varshita, we have spoken to so many enterprises, and I've seen so many deployments of process intelligence in the context of, or as part of intelligent automation.
Yeah.
Could you share a real world practical example of an enterprise adopting process intelligence as part of their intelligent automation journey?
Definitely. And I completely agree with you. There's nothing like seeing it in practice. I think the most compelling example that I have seen comes from a manufacturing company. They wanted to speed up their automation journey, they wanted to automate their process. But like so many other enterprises that we talked to, the slate was absolutely clean. They had no fact-based picture or map of how the process is being run. So on the surface, if I look at on paper, the processes look very, very stable, very predictable workflows. Accounts payable is running, payroll is running, invoicing is running. But once they introduced process intelligence, that's when a very different story started coming up. The processes were full of loops. There were so many manual reworks. There were a lot of inconsistencies, and a lot of the team's bandwidth was being spent in rectifying all these things. So then they went to process intelligence, and the I'll just give you one metric, and that is a staggering metric. The time needed just to discover and document these processes, that was cut by almost 75%. So you are just left with 25% of the work that your workforce is still engaged in. And apart from that staggering statistics, the leadership finally had a very detailed map of how the process was running, not how it's supposed to run now, not how it should run, how what is happening on ground. And that shifted everything in their automation journey. Instead of automating something based on intuition, they were automating things that were generating real value because they had actually pinpointed where the compliance was being hit, what is taking a lot of my time, where is the maximum variation, what is the cost heavy process. And that just did not provide them the visibility. It fundamentally reshaped how they approach their automation strategy. So you're looking at a more efficient process, you're looking at a more scalable process, and you're looking at a more compliant process.
That's a great example and the case study. I'm sure there are so many different
Yeah.
or some different enterprises who have been able to adopt process intelligence and have achieved similar kind of benefits. And we have so many research where we have talked about those kind of case studies, right? Um, well, you know. We are seeing uh, interest from across different industries, right? And different business functions. So, Santosh, what are we seeing from our research? Uh, are there certain industries who have been um, adopting process intelligence more than others? Are there certain business functions where we have seen more adoption of process intelligence? And how are things evolving going forward?
Sure, sure. Amar. So in terms of the process mining side, if we take the process mining side, manufacturing and BFSI sectors have been leading the adoption, and manufacturing primarily because they use it to optimize their production process, reduce the downtime, and improve product quality. Whereas BFSI relies heavily for compliance, governance, and streaming any kind of complex back office workflows, etc. At the same time, when we see which are like the sectors that are growing the fastest, CPG and retail and energy and utilities are two such industries or sectors that are the fastest growing adopters of process mining solutions, because they're focused more on optimizing their supply chains, logistics, customer fulfillment, etc. Healthcare is also kind of adopting and scaling process mining, especially around patient experience and clinical workflows. On the other side, when we take the case of digital interaction intelligence, the story looks a little different. Here, BFSI sector again leads the adoption because of the sheer number of manual desktop-heavy activities that are going on. Healthcare and pharma, as well as high tech and telecom, continue to be the strongest, fast-growing adopters in this particular technology, primarily used for productivity as well as compliance. But the fastest growth again here also is coming from CPG retail sector, which is like more common, I would say, across both these technologies, where they're using it for different aspects like supply chain management, logistics, customer fulfillment, etc. Now, when we take the case of functions, industry-specific processes is something which is leading adopter of both these technologies. Post that, we are seeing good adoption from F&A, finance and accounting and procurement, followed by good and I would say a lot of interest from HR functions as well as contact center functions to adopt digital interaction and intelligence, specifically to improve the stakeholder experience and kind of deliver an operational efficiency, better operational efficiency over the processes used in HR and as well as contact center. So these are some of the key industries and business functions where we are seeing good adoption, as well as some new emerging adopters
Mhm.
as well for the technology.
No, no, clearly, I think process intelligence is very, very industry and function agnostic, and
Yeah.
clearly we are seeing its adoption across the verticals. Of course, certain industries like manufacturing have traditionally been, a greater adopter of process intelligence technologies, but we are seeing them, as you rightly mentioned, spread across industries and across business functions very quickly over the last few years, and we expect that to continue going forward.
Yeah.
Well, today AI has just become so important, right? And we have been talking about process intelligence, but in today's AI world, right? Especially with the emergence of generative AI, and over the last few years, it has become a key talk of the town for everyone, generative AI, right? So, Varshita, why don't you tell us about how we see generative AI impacting the value and the tech trends in the process intelligence space, right? What should we or what should enterprises take away from all the advances that has happened in the Gen AI world as they think about process intelligence?
Yeah, I think Amar, that's a very, very pertinent question. AI is very, very pervasive at this stage. We see it everywhere. It's very unlikely that there is any aspect of any technology that will not be impacted by AI. The way I see generative AI impacting the process intelligence space, I don't see it as reinventing the wheel, but I do see it as something that makes the wheel easier to use. So the underlying technology still remains the same. It is just made more accessible. For
Mm,
example, if I look at traditionally, process mining gave you a lot of dashboards, it gave you a lot of graphs, it gives you a lot of data. That's very, very powerful information. But at times, it can be a little intimidating. That's a lot of data. How do I make sense of it? Where do I start? What do I start with? When you give it a layer of Gen AI, that's when you make it easier for the user. Then the
mm,
user does not have to mine through all that data. What they are looking for is a natural language question. What are the status of invoices? Where is the delay? And Gen AI will help you answer that question in natural language. And that's a very, very practical application because it puts insights directly into the hands of business users. You no longer need specialists to do this with you. It's you, and you control the action of it. Another area where we see Gen AI accelerating things is the data preparation part. That is something that we expect that Gen AI will proliferate and make it much, much better than what it is right now. Because right now, the cleaning, the structuring, the ETL of data is very, very time consuming. As and when we see Gen AI proliferating it, we expect users to reach to insights quicker so that you can act quicker. When it comes to action, there are two parts of action. What action do you take and when do you take? And I think Gen AI has a role to play in both of these things. When I talk about what action do you take, if there has been an SLA breach or if there has been a KPI that's been hit, Gen AI will not just highlight that particular aspect for you, it will also provide you a remediation step. What do you do next? What are the
mm,
things that you can do? So I think that is very, very important if you're stuck in a loop. Other than that, before this action is even required, Gen AI also has the capability to be predictive in its insights. So it will tell you before something strikes that XYZ is in motion and there's a potential that this will be an SLA breach. So it can analyze patterns and warn you. So instead of playing a catch-up game where an SLA or a KPI is hit and now you are proceeding with a corrective action, you
mhm.
start with a preventive action. And that kind of practical foresight can help you reduce cost and eliminate any kind of revenue leakage.
That's really interesting. How Gen AI has further amplified the value that
Yeah.
enterprises can achieve from process intelligence technologies. Right now, again, talking about AI, right? Although Gen AI was such a big hit, right? The conversations have really started to move towards agentic AI, right? Especially when it's about realizing the execution potential of AI, right, or putting things into action, right? So Santosh, can you tell us a little bit about how we see agentic AI evolve, right? And what are some of the challenges that we see enterprises face in their agentic AI journey? Although we all see that it's currently in a very very early stage of enterprise adoption, but we are certainly seeing a lot of enterprises, and we have spoken to so many enterprises who have started to do POCs and pilots of agentic AI. So, what are some of the challenges and apprehensions, or bottlenecks that they are facing as they think about adopting and scaling agentic AI?
Sure, Amar. As you rightly said, I think agentic AI is something which is right now very hot and trending. And most enterprises are currently in POC or pilot stage and trying. Few of them have moved to production as well. But a lot of enterprises being stuck in pilot or POC stage is due to different challenges or roadblocks that they are seeing right now, right? So first one is the data quality and reliability. The kind of data that they're leveraging to train their models, or in terms of the AI agents kind of leveraging it to kind of take actions, is not that there is some kind of fragmented silos that are existing in the data that is being provided. The second aspect is the lack of business context or the process context, because the AI agents currently that are available are mostly trained on generic data or industry or process specific data, but it does not have that enterprise specific business context which is required to perform the process similar to humans, right? Then the other issues that we are seeing, that we are hearing from enterprises are accuracy and reliability, governance, compliance issues, as well as orchestration of both humans and AI agents within the process. So these are some of the key challenges or roadblocks that enterprises are currently seeing as they go through this agentic AI journey.
Absolutely. So much potential. I
Yeah,
think everyone's eyes are on agentic AI, and
yeah,
it's really exciting and scary at the same time. Just looking at the potential of AI with agentic AI coming into the picture. Um, so just kind of looking at it in the context of process intelligence, why should enterprises care about process intelligence in the context of them trying to adopt and scale agentic AI, and as they look towards overcoming some of these challenges and barriers that they are facing? So
sure.
Varshita, do you want to in fact, why don't you both kind of share your thoughts on it? Santosh, you may want to kind of start.
Sure, I can start definitely. In terms of when you take agentic AI journey itself, Amar, so there are different things. So for the first step is to identify and prioritize which are those use cases where AI agents can be deployed. Now that's the primary step for starting the agentic journey, where enterprises currently don't have a proper tool to kind of identify which are those use cases where they can deploy AI agents. So that's the first area where process intelligence can play a crucial role in helping enterprises identify which are those use cases where AI agents can come into picture in terms of use case prioritization. The other aspect is related to the context that which I was talking about, the lack of business context, which is a key challenge. So that challenge can also be addressed using process intelligence technologies. So the process intelligence technologies can provide the necessary process context, the business context, as well as the process insights to the AI agents, so that they have a good understanding of the process and perform the process similar to how the end users are performing it. And this also helps, this context also helps to kind of fine tune the AI agents over time, so that they are aware of any kind of process changes that are happening within the enterprise. So these are the primary areas. Apart from that, in terms of governance, the technology can help in terms of flagging any kind of deviations in real time and help the AI systems to show the right boundaries where to operate within the organization, and also to kind of monitor the steps that are being taken by AI agents within the process. right? In terms of how the agents are performing each step, if there is any kind of inefficiency or deviation from the standard process. So all such activities can be monitored and can be highlighted to the end users with respect to how agents are performing the process. So these are some of the aspects which come to my mind when we see how process intelligence can kind of complement or can kind of support the AI agents.
Mhm. And
I think
you
Santosh,
know, yeah. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead,
go ahead.
Varshita. Yeah.
I was just saying Santosh covered it very well. I just add a few
Mm,
points to it. I think when we talk about agentic AI and AI agents, we always position themselves as a digital workforce, sort of a
mm,
your digital employee who can take things for you. And in my interaction with a lot of enterprises, while that looks like a very enticing prospect, it
mhm,
also raises a lot of flags in their mind. Okay, it's a digital workforce, it'll have access, it'll be able to do actions, whatever it goes out of bounds. So I'll tell the audience the same thing that I tell the people that I interact with. Imagine a digital workforce, imagine your agentic AI system to be a digital employee and onboard it like a digital employee. You don't have to jump to the last step where you're giving it everything and asking it to work on your own. Start with a very structured, low risk, high value areas,
mm,
present ample guardrails so that it does not exceed its bounds, and then use process intelligence to monitor what kind of results are you seeing, and then gradually scale up. So
mm.
over time you will develop confidence with these low risk repetitive decisions first, and then going on full fledged to the autonomous mode.
Yep, no, absolutely, and that's a great tip for enterprises who are kind of in the process of adopting agentic AI. So, I think this is a very interesting point, right? Because um, in all our conversations, right, and Santosh, as you rightly mentioned, accuracy, trustworthiness, hallucinations, bias, governance. These are, we often hear about all these aspects as key barriers to adopting and scaling agentic AI, right? And Varshita, as you rightly mentioned, it is always better to start with low hanging fruits, like safe environments to kind of pilot this very disruptive technology, agentic AI. I think it's there is a very very important role that process intelligence can play, as Santosh you highlighted, where it can provide the business context, very important business context data. And we often say that, hey, before you kind of have your AI strategy at a level where you can scale it, you need to have your data strategy ready. So data strategy becomes a foundational capability for building AI strategy for enterprises. And I believe, and this has become very evident in our conversations with enterprises and key enterprise leaders, that there has been a lot of awareness and realization of that importance of data strategy. And that's where process intelligence is also becoming one of those key tools that enterprise leaders are now leveraging to get all the business context, get all the unstructured business data that is probably not even getting captured unless enterprise adopted process intelligence technologies, especially how work is being done using productivity tools. That is now getting captured by a lot of enterprises who have adopted digital interaction intelligence technology. So all of that data becomes very critical to feed into adopting and scaling AI agents in the future. So I think that's where we see process intelligence becoming a key component of enterprises' AI initiatives in the long term, right? And I think that also makes it a very strategic sourcing decision for enterprises, right? So Varshita, as enterprises go about looking for the right um, process intelligence technology for themselves, right? What are the key factors that they should keep in mind? And in fact, could you tell us a bit about what the supplier landscape looks like, right? And then what are those key factors that enterprises should keep in mind as they go about selecting the right process intelligence technology for themselves?
So I'll answer the second question first. I think I'll set the context of what the supplier landscape looks like. So essentially, we see four different categories of players coming in. First are the automation players, which are basically the RPA platforms that have expanded into the process and process mining and digital interactive intelligence space. So they bring to them the whole ecosystem. They can discover a process, analyze it, automate it, all in the same ecosystem. This is where names like UiPath or Automation Anywhere come in. And then we have the enterprise software providers, which are basically your ERP providers who are embedding process intelligence into their core offering. So this is where providers like SAP Signavio comes in. And then you have the big tech providers, which are essentially your crowd providers who are now foraying into process intelligence and are providing an integrated ecosystem. An example of that would be Microsoft. And the fourth category that we see coming up are the specialist providers. These are the providers whose entire focus is on process intelligence, both process mining and digital interactive intelligence. And these are the providers where we see a lot of innovation coming, a lot of depth. So, in terms of advanced analytics or AI integration, a lot of this comes from this segment of providers. So, you can take the names of Celonis or Apromore now. Now, the big question that you asked is how do you go about selecting it? One thing that I'll actually say before anything else is that there is no one size fits all. What you're looking for and what value you're trying to generate will define which kind of provider do you go with. So I think depth of capability is an obvious thing. You are looking for somebody that can provide you the required capabilities that you're looking for. The one thing that you need to look at is integration. So process intelligence is as good as the action that it enables, which is as good as the insights it generates, which again is dependent on the data that it has access to, which is ultimately driven by what kind of integration it enables. So the tighter the integration, the better the process from discovery to execution. And the next thing you need to look at is the kind of scalability and security it provides. A lot of the organization, rather a lot or majority of the organizations have massive amounts of data. You have ERP systems, you have CRM systems. So you need a provider who's able to handle that amount of data, scale as you scale, and then adhere to all your compliance needs, be GDPR or some industry specific compliance. The next thing that I'll say is what Santosh also touched upon earlier is the pace at which things are moving, the innovation that we see. So we are seeing agentic AI, we are seeing generative AI. So it is essential to partner with a provider that's also investing in these technologies. So in the long run, you are not the one who's being held back because your provider is not investing in the right things. And I think the fourth and last thing that I'll talk about is the change management and support with process intelligence. We see a lot of concerns coming up in the employee or the workforce. They think they are being tracked, everything is being monitored. So I think that change management, that okay, this is not to keep an eye on you, this is something that will be done that improves the process as a whole. That kind of training, communication, support, that is very very integral. And I think that is something that cannot be quantified. You really need to look at who is doing the best in this.
No, those are some really, really good points, Varshita. And I'm sure enterprises will keep those points in mind as they go about selecting the right process intelligence technology providers for themselves. And, to further help the enterprises make that decision, we have done in-depth research evaluating all the key tech providers in the process intelligence space. And I would like to thank you both and the entire team, who kind of have worked really hard and done a really good job in doing a very in-depth evaluation of the supplier landscape. And people can look it up. These are our peak matrix evaluations for both process mining tech providers and digital interaction intelligence tech providers, and we have assessed all the leading providers in the market. And for the folks who are joining us today, you can also download a complimentary abstract of our latest digital interaction intelligence peak matrix report, and you can see the link to download it in the chat box. Okay, great. So, uh, talking about all these technologies is all good, right? But as enterprises have to go about adopting these technologies, go about sketching out their adoption plan, right? What are some of the key best practices, right, that they should keep in mind to realize higher business value, and also to just overcome some of the challenges that they may face in their journey? So, Santosh, what are we seeing from our discussions with some of those enterprises who have led the way in successfully adopting these technologies? What are some of the key best practices that we are hearing from those enterprises?
Sure, Raman. Yeah, I think based on our conversations with enterprises who have adopted process intelligence solutions over time and have seen uh, good realization in terms of ROI as well as the kind of process efficiencies, the key is to approach process intelligence and AI in a way that builds momentum while laying down strong foundations. So start with small projects, pick a simple standardized process where you can demonstrate quick wins. That early success will build trust and create the momentum needed for the broader rollout. Secondly, building a strong business case for the process so that you can secure the buy-in and IT alignment from the beginning of the initiative or the beginning of the process itself is necessary. And also invest in building internal expertise, like building skills through training and involving business and IT users early so that they don't become dependent on any other external vendors, which fosters a culture of continuous improvement, right? And also prioritizing the data quality, right? Especially for process mining, high quality logs and structured data are critical. So in terms of AI, using AI to help kind of streamline the data preparation and filling gaps and standardizing formats will also be crucial. Since we also talked about agentic AI and process intelligence being also used in kind of collaboration, we feel enterprise also leveraging some kind of strong, robust governance frameworks to kind of cater to any kind of security standards or governance standards and ensure there is compliance and transparency and trust over the processes that are being mined using these technologies. And lastly, closely working with business units and any kind of COEs that enterprise have within their organization to make process intelligence part of the overall digital transformation initiatives is also an important aspect, which is like a success factor that enterprises generally use for a successful adoption of process intelligence and generating the expected ROI from these technologies. So these are some of the key best practices that we have encountered based on our interactions with enterprises who have leveraged process intelligence over time and have seen good benefits being achieved from these technology solutions.
No, that's very interesting, and thanks, Santosh, for sharing some of those best practices and factors that have worked really well for enterprises in achieving greater value from their process intelligence investments. Now we are also seeing some questions from the audience in the comment section. I believe we won't be able to get to all of it during this session because of the time constraint, but we'll be sure to respond to all these questions offline. But maybe we have time to pick one of these. So let me see. I think this one is interesting. So how do you see agentic AI in 5 to 7 years from now? Do you think it is going to be the main lever for business to remain competitive, or it will fade out like some other past hypes? So, Varshita, probably question for you, but I think Santosh would love to hear your thoughts as well. Varshita, do you want to take a stab?
Yeah, I'll take it first. So, if I look at the next 5 to 7 years, I see agentic AI accelerating at a very rapid pace. We recently did an assessment on the agentic AI space, and we have estimated the CAGR for the next 3 to 4 years at more than 200%, which is great for a technology. Having said that, this does not mean that in 5 to 7 years I'll see a completely digital workforce and there'll be no human workers. I think the approach will be very, very gradual. It will be a multi-step process where you first start with the low-hanging fruits, then you start with slightly complex, and ultimately leading to the autonomous agents. But yeah, definitely it's not fading away. It's here to stay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I also agree with what Varshita said. I think the technology is here to stay, and we are seeing a lot of interest from enterprises to deploy AI agents in different industries, different functions, different processes. And it's not like everything is going to be autonomous in the next 3-4 years. We'll need human in the loop along with the
Hmm.
AI agents so that they monitor and validate the kind of actions that are being performed by AI agents.
Hmm.
So that human agent collaboration will continue to happen over the next few years as well. So that's my
Yeah.
view.
And I
Yep.
And I think for it to be scalable, there is input required both from the service providers and tech providers. There are a lot of concerns that enterprises have, especially around governance, trust, some kind of automation, action, automatic action that the agents takes on its own. So I think those key concerns will really need to be addressed
Hmm.
before it scales to that level.
Hmm. So here to stay, but there are
Yeah,
some challenges to figure out.
yeah,
Of
Yeah.
course, and probably one of the challenge for us to figure out is how to find jobs that are not going to get impacted by AI. So I think that kind of also kind of focuses on, or kind of brings the limelight on how important reskilling, upskilling the workforce is going to be in the future for enterprises, so that they continue to evolve as the technologies evolve. And as Santosh rightly mentioned, it is going to be about human in the loop, right?
yeah,
At least for the next few years.
Yeah.
definitely,
Definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
okay, great. No, thanks, Santosh and Varshita, for sharing such great insights from our research, and thanks everyone for joining in today. Of course, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We would happy to kind of connect with you and chat with you on some of these technologies, some of these topics where we continue to see a lot of traction, a lot of interesting things happening, and a lot of research that we are currently doing on these topics. So, look forward to connecting with all of you, and thanks for joining in.